Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. Today is the 27th of February, the beginning of Ukrainian time, of course, and today is the final day before before very interesting talks between the President of Ukraine, Zelensky, and the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, where, according to information we have, on the February 28th, both sides are planning to sign a very important deal about minerals. Zelensky confirmed that preparations are underway for his visit to the United States of America, calling February 28 a working date. He also confirmed that he expects to travel to the United Kingdom. So Zelensky says that before he goes to the United States of America, first he's going to visit London. Why is that? Because according to information we have, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, of United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, is going to have a meeting, is going to have talks with Donald Trump today in Washington, where most likely they're going to discuss a lot of questions. I'll remind you that this week, at the beginning of this week, the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, had already a meeting with Trump where they were talking about security guarantees. Security guarantees is a very important thing regarding the relations between Russia, Ukraine, the United States of America. And according to information we have, Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron have their own plan regarding this situation, regarding this issue. We have several statements made by Trump before meeting with Keir Starmer and before meeting with Zelensky. Trump on ending the war in Ukraine: "I can't guarantee, but I think we will succeed. Ukraine needs to forget about NATO because it is the reason why the war started." Another important statement that Europe, not the United States, will be responsible for providing security guarantees to Ukraine. And today, Keir Starmer is going to visit Donald Trump, and he's going to talk not like have a permission to receive permission from the United States of America to deploy forces. Trump doesn't have anything about this, and of course, he will accept the deployment of any kind of troops on the territory of Ukraine. The question and the most important issue that both leaders are going to discuss and talk today is whether the United States of America is going to provide security guarantees to the United Kingdom or to the troopers of France and the United Kingdom itself. And according to information we have, Donald Trump is not going to provide any of this. So this is the main situation, and this is the main problem, because if the United Kingdom and France decide to deploy forces on the territory of Ukraine without any guarantees from the United States of America, and if Zelensky decides to break the deal, to break the rules, and Russia begin another or resume offensive operation, obviously the forces of UK and France would be under attack by the Russian forces. Otherwise, they would be forced to fall back. So basically, without US guarantees, there are no chances for any European contingent to hold the lines against Russia. So today is the 27th, and today, as you can see, we start receiving first and important, let's say, statements made by leaders before the final agreement, before the final date of the 28th of February. Zelensky made his own statements as well. There will be no ceasefire without security guarantees. There will only be an end of the war, so that we know that it will not start tomorrow. I will preserve the numerical strength of the army as much as possible, because this is the best guarantee of security. Trump, however, proposes first declaring a ceasefire and then holding peace talks, in which, among other things, security guarantees will be discussed. Macron proposed the same schema. So this is the situation, and Zelensky doesn't want this. Zelensky wants, no matter what, to force the Western countries first to deploy troopers on the territory of Ukraine and only then to announce ceasefire. Obviously, this is something that will never be accepted by the Russian Federation, by the United States of America, because nobody knows for sure how long it takes between when the troopers are deployed and the day when Zelensky will announce ceasefire. Obviously, it can take even a year, because there are no guarantees that Zelensky will not try to find some issues, some solutions, how to prolong the war and how to force the Europeans and Russian Federation to fight each other. Furthermore, Zelensky stated right before this meeting that he will not agree to even 10 cents to pay off the debt in the deal with the United States of America. So, you know that a lot of experts have stated that Zelensky currently says a lot of things, and most likely he's going to take with him his own, let's say, draft of this mineral deal, but most likely, and he will arrive to the United States of America with his own document, but most likely at the end he will sign the document provided by the United States of America. Furthermore, today we have another very important number of events that are coming from Turkey. According to information we have today, US-Russia meeting is scheduled to take place in Istanbul on February 27th. So today, focused on the operations of bilateral diplomatic missions that was stated by US State Department. Ukraine does not seem to be on the agenda of the meeting, but obviously and most likely the sides are going to discuss this issue as well. So this is very interesting. 27th and 28th of February are going to be very interesting, and obviously somewhere in the morning of the 1st of March we will understand everything, whether those sides manage to achieve agreements or not. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, because we have a lot of very interesting updates. And first we're going to talk about the Zaporizhzhia direction. We haven't been talked a lot about this territory for the previous probably year or something like this, because there were almost nothing, no activities. But when talking about the current stage of the special military operation, we see that the Russians, both the Russians and the Ukrainians, are intensifying their activities and actions. I'll remind you that since the beginning of this week we received a lot of updates that the Russians managed to improve their positions in the area of the settlement of Petykhatki. Several sources reported, including neutral mappers, that the Russians managed to take the village under complete control, but as for now without any changes, without any geolocations, we have added the contested area. And we have just one video published by the Russian side, and the Russians are saying that in this video we can see the Ukrainian soldiers that surrendered, and as a result of another Russian attack. So of course we have added this video softly. We don't know for sure whether this event took place here or not, but the source of this video reported that the Ukrainians surrendered somewhere in the vicinity of Petykhatki. Furthermore, we got several videos of how the Russians were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions there with FABs. Anyway, we can't say that all these things tell us that's 100% sure something big is going to happen here, but if you remember, we've been talking a lot about this, and I'll remind you that most likely right before the announcement of the ceasefire, the Ukrainians will try to do everything they can, all their best, with the purpose to cross the water reservoir and to attack Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and to hold positions there until the end of the peace negotiation process. If the Ukrainians are able to restore control over this territory, obviously in the future this can improve the Ukrainian positions, economy positions, finance positions, because they will have another asset they can use for generating of power or many other things. Anyway, when talking about the 27th of February, today we got a very interesting video from the northwestern part of Zaporizhzhia. The Russian sources published this video and they added several interesting descriptions. In this video we can see how the Russians managed to discover the concentration of Ukrainian drone operators, so FPV drone operators that were planning probably to do something in this area. Maybe they were planning to attack or to prepare offensive, some attack operations towards the Energodar and Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, but the Russians discovered this concentration as a result of Iskander strike. This entire group of operators of drone was destroyed, and the Russians are saying that there were up to 100 operators of FPV drones. So obviously the Ukrainians suffered significant losses in this area. Furthermore, I'll remind you that during February there were several more cases, interesting events. For example, at the beginning of this month, so we had reports on the 13th of February, more precisely, that some organization that controls nuclear stations was planning to carry out rotation in this area, and they were planning and they were trying to reach Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, but the Russians are saying that Ukrainians began bombing and attacking this convoy with FPV drones. So obviously something big is going to happen in this area. As for now, we don't know for sure when exactly this is going to happen, but obviously in the very near future. Now let's move further and let's discuss the northern direction, because from this area we also got a lot of very important updates. First, we're going to talk about the Bryansk direction. During the previous nights, the Ukrainian sources reported about some ballistic danger, that the Russians launched several ballistic missiles in the area of the northern Sumy region, and there were several explosions. And this morning, on the 27th of February, we start receiving the first videos and geolocations. In this video, we can see almost the same story that we discussed minutes ago in the area of Zaporizhzhia. Another group of Ukrainian FPV drone operators came to this area, and they began deploying their forces, their units, their significant number of drones. Then, as you can see, according to this video, the Ukrainians were trying to hide their numerous number of drones that they were planning to use, probably somewhere in the Bryansk direction. But the Russians managed to discover this huge concentration of Ukrainian special forces, and then the Russians attacked this territory with Iskander missile with cluster rounds. So as you can see, another group of Ukrainian drone operators was destroyed as a result of Russian precision fire. Obviously, the Ukrainians suffer significant losses. And when talking about this area, of course, we can say that most likely the Ukrainians were planning to do once again something deep inside of territory of Russia. Maybe they were planning to send drones and to attack some facilities, some oil refineries, or maybe the Ukrainians deployed their FPV drone operators in this area with the purpose to begin another offensive operation right before the beginning of the negotiation process. But obviously, according to this attack, according to this video, the Russians managed to ruin the Ukrainian plans, and most likely now they will have to think twice before the beginning of any offensive operation in this area. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Sudzha direction, because from this area we got probably the most important updates during the previous night. And the most important things are coming from the most northern part. I'll remind you that the Russians resumed their offensive operation or counter-offensive operation in this area, and as a result of clashes for the previous several days, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly. The Russians captured or recaptured the settlement of Pogribki, Orlovka, and Novaya Sorochina. At least today, the official Telegram channel of the Group of Forces North stated that as a result of offensive operation, the Russians managed to take under complete control and to secure the territory of the village of Novaya Sorochina. So our fearless motorized riflemen, so the Russians, having broken the fierce resistance of the Ukraine armed forces, liberated the village of Novaya Sorochina. Also, the assault units advanced in the surrounding forest belts. So most likely today the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation will confirm this information, and most likely the next 24-48 hours we're going to see a lot of attempts from the Russian side to attack the settlement of Malaya Loknya and Staraya Sorochina from the north, and most likely the Russians will attack the territory from the east. The main purpose for the Russians for the next week is to cut this, let's say, pocket, this salient between the settlement of Nikoysk and Kositsa to the north. So they will try to maintain the lines, to shorten the lines, and to get as close as possible to the settlements like Cherkasskaya, Porечная, Yuzhny, Bogdanovka, Kazachia, Loknya. Furthermore, we continue receiving a lot of very important updates from the southern part. I believe that Russian operations, Russian maneuvers in the northern part of Sudzha are just the maneuvers with the purpose to distract Ukrainian attention. I believe that the main attack is going to take place in the southern part in the direction of the settlement of Yunakiivka. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians published several more videos of how they were bombing and attacking the positions of the armed forces of Ukraine with the use of FAB-3000. If we calculate the number of FAB-3000 that the Russians used in this area since the beginning of months, probably we're going to count up to several dozens. And we see that the Russians are reducing this territory to ruins completely, trying to destroy every single Ukrainian position and not to allow the Ukrainians to show even a small resistance to the Russians. Furthermore, and we believe that the Russians are coming to the final stage of this preparation, and very likely very soon the Russians are about to begin this final assault. Because today we got another video video between the settlements of Guyovo and Garnal. This video came from this area, and in this video we can see how the Russians, as a result of precision strike, managed to destroy another pontoon bridge that Ukrainians used to support their forces in the area of Guyovo. So the Ukrainians used to have another supply road between the settlement of Miropolye and the settlement of Garnal. Further, this supply road went to the settlement of Guyovo, but today this bridge was destroyed, which means that logistic of the armored forces of Ukraine in this area currently is in danger, and it's the best time for the Russians to begin this offensive, because obviously it will take time for Ukrainians to restore this bridge and to restore their logistic in this area. And of course, the Russians have complete control over the main supply road between the city of Sumy and city of Sudzha. Today we got another batch of videos of how the Russians were FPV droning, attacking and destroying Ukrainian vehicles along this N07 road that Ukrainians were trying to use to supply and support their forces inside of the Sudzha pocket. So we see that the Russians are coming to the final stage, and it's just a question whether it's going to take another week or several days or even hours before the Russians begin the final assault operation. Now let's move to the southern direction, to the Pokrovsk area. Today we also got lots of updates from this territory, and the most important updates are coming from the South Donetsk direction. During the previous 24 hours, according to pro-Russian resources, the Russians managed to improve their positions significantly. Also, this information was confirmed by pro-Ukrainian sources. As you can see, according to information we received during the previous night, the first Russian sabotage and reconnaissance group, as a result of offensive operation, managed to enter the southeastern part of the settlement of Burlatskaya. So basically the battle for the settlement has begun. Obviously it will take several days for the Russians to force the Ukrainians to fall back, but once again it's just a matter of time. Whether the Russians need 1 day, 2 days or 1 week, and then the battle for this number of settlements will begin, which is obviously a very dangerous situation for the armored forces of Ukraine. Also, I would like to discuss with you the situation in the area of Andreevka. Today we continue receiving lots of reports, and we continue receiving very strange map changes on the pro-Ukrainian source Deep State. As you can see, they still show that the significant number of territories in this pocket remains under complete Ukraine control, or at least they're considered as a contested area or the gray zone. And you know that today we received a lot of updates from pro-Ukrainian side that indeed there are still a lot of pockets of resistance, even on the northern part of Ulakli, in the southern part of Andreevka. Lots of Ukrainians were trapped and were caught in cauldron, and it's already 10 days when they are still encircled without any possibilities to break through from this situation. Most likely the Ukrainians will not surrender, and so that's why the next several days we're gonna still continue receiving updates about very heavy clashes on this territory, when the Russians will try to reduce the number of pockets and to finish the battle for this territory completely. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.